speaking to your boy though, like first time like meeting black people was interesting because like in high school, like all my friends were black and things like that, but it was a pretty like diverse kind of school though. El Paso has like the biggest like military base in the country. Oh, okay. So I think it's the biggest military base in the country. You could fact check me on that, but so we get like a lot of implants from like other places. So you have like the primarily like Chicano, you know, demographic, and then you get pools from like other places too. And I went to a high school that was technically on military property, so it was like a lot of military kids at my high school. So it was pretty mixed bag as far as like my friend group goes. But I feel like I often was faced with this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like this feeling inside of like, I'm black, but am I black enough? And then like I'm not Chicano or Latinx, so I'm not necessarily going to be 100% accepted with them, and like kind of like this weird in between place. And I remember like very clearly, there's this time I was in college, and I think we were like leaving a tailgate. I had just met some folks, and we were all hanging out, and we were in the car, and I was talking to this girl, and she was like, I don't know how it came up, but she was like, I was like, yeah, I'm like full black, and she was like, oh, you're not really black though.
What the fuck does that mean?
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, I'm like, okay. And it's crazy because like we get these certain perspectives of like how a certain type of person should behave and how they should act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's such a limiting mindset because people are people at the end of the day.
Does it matter, right?
Exactly.
I've dealt with that my whole life, and what does it matter?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
what does it matter? But
it's wild. But
I can't stand how that's kind of like she stereotyped you like.
Exactly. And she was black too, so I was like, if anybody should get the struggle, like,
oh my god,
like, you know what I mean? Like
you threw that one out of nowhere. Like I didn't expect. I thought she was gonna be Latina.
No, and I mean I've gotten it from like Latinos too and Latinas, so like it's across the board, and it's like,
well, what do they expect you to be like?
Just like the stereotypical, you know, like quote unquote like rapper kind of persona. You know what I mean? Like like from the like streets and stuff like that. Like I grew up lower middle class, and I wasn't like banging or anything like that. I was just
a regular guy.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's like media. You know what I mean? They paint different demographics in a certain picture.
Yeah.
And when they meet somebody that doesn't fit that picture, it's like, oh.
I had some guy, what I used to work with, he told me, he's like, what are you? You know, what are you? And I said, well, my mom's Mexican and my dad's black. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, you're not dark. There's no way. I was like, what? He's like, you know, you're not dark. Mm-hmm. That's not true. You got to check that out. I was like, so that same thing, they have like a stereotypical.
Exactly.
He was a white guy, you know. So. But so do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I got 2 older brothers.
The baby?
I'm the baby.
Oh.
Yeah, so my oldest brother, he's back in El Paso. He's 36, I think. But yeah, big influence on me, especially like music wise, you know. And yeah, he's always been a good role model for me, and he's very business minded. And in college, he was doing like his own clothing line, and you know, I would always rep his stuff, and started a food truck, and that like grew into like a storefront that he has in El Paso now. And
nice.
He's a graphic designer, and yeah, wow. So he was a great role
successful.
Model. Yeah, and then my other brother Cameron, he's out in New York. I want to say he's 31, but he's out in New York. He's always been kind of a free spirit and kind of like just go out to when I'm gonna make it happen. So he was living in Dallas for a while, came back to El Paso, and then he's living in New York now. He's living in Brooklyn, and he's wardrobe styling, and he's making moves, and I'm really proud of him. And he's also been a great role model for me as far as just like chasing your dreams, you know. And he's been working on movies, and he's making it happen, which is like great to see. And I'm super blessed to have both of them in my life. So
yeah, you're 2 successful brothers.
Yeah. So
how far are they apart from you?
So my oldest brother is 9 years. So he's 36. He's 34, 35. He's 35 and I'm
Hey, 30 some.
26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then Cameron, my middle brother, I want to say he's 31, so it's like 5 years.
So you didn't get to go to like school with them or none of that stuff?
There's like very brief, like I was in first grade and Cameron was in fifth grade or something like that, but we weren't like interacting
Yeah, I get
in
it.
that capacity though. So
you just hung out with all your friends and stuff?
exactly. But
What about your parents? What are they like?
So my parents, they love both my parents very much. Mom, she's super creative, and she back in the day she was super into sewing, and she would make like these fabric kind of like painting kind of things and stuff like that, but definitely more on the creative side. And then my pops, I feel like he's a little more on the analytical side of things, and he's very much more like business minded and very strong work ethic and things like that. But yeah, going into high school, my parents actually split up. So I ended up staying with my mom all throughout high school. So during those like really formative years, like I was like with my mom a lot of the time. My dad was around, but like at that time I was kind of like, my mom was like, she was like the cool parent. She was super chill and stuff. Yeah. Like she was.
Your dad was stricter.
He was a little stricter, so I was like, I'm
going to mom's house.
Exactly, you know what I mean. So.
But was he around, or did he just?
Yeah, he was around. I feel like there was a time where, like, I subconsciously was kind of like pushing him away a little bit. But I mean, it also like goes into like my mom. She was much more chill, and my dad was strict. So of course, as a high schooler,
yeah, you want to be with the chill.
Exactly. You know what I mean. So yeah. But they're both in El Paso, and like I saw them on a regular basis. So yeah.
So you had both parents in your life and stuff. I think that makes me think like mamas want to raise their babies and daddies want to raise a man.
No, and that's real. That's super real. And I mean, looking back at it in retrospect, I kind of wish I would have spent more time during those formative years with my pops, because looking back, it's like having that strong like masculine influence is like super important. And again, I credit to my older brother, because like when I wasn't always kicking it with my dad, like my brother was around, and he would take me to like concerts, like hip hop concerts. And when I was 16, like
that's cool.
We saw like Schoolboy Q and Tech Nine and Joey Badass and Souls of Mischief. Like wild stuff. Souls of Mischief was like my second concert ever. So super grateful for him. And again, like he had a big influence on my music taste just in general.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So always call your dad, man. Talk to your parents.
100%.
I think I said this like the last couple podcasts, so I don't want to be repetitive, but my dad just passed away. Well, my stepdad. I never really knew my real dad, but my stepdad, he raised me.
Yeah.
And he just passed away, and I regret not calling him and doing those little things.
100%.
Because you go on to life, you start pursuing rap, or you got your kids, or, and you start living your life, and you forget about those loved ones.
100%.
Don't make that mistake, bro, because you'll sit down and you'll think, damn, I could have called him this day. You'll have the day and the time in your mind where you missed the time to talk to him. Absolutely.
And it's interesting you bring that up, because like as I've gotten older, like I've definitely have like resonated with that message more, because like I'm very much like an introvert, and it's very easy for me to just lock into like what I'm doing and just
I know.
Not reach out to anybody. But like as I've gotten older and like spent time away from my family, I've realized like how important they are, and I try to call them on a regular basis. And I'm grateful enough to still have my grandparents around, and they're actually on the EP. So
nice.
So I have a song where I sampled like a phone call with my grandparents, and yeah, it's just super special to me, just to be able to have that, because again, like another big influence was my grandpa. And every summer, like my extended family, a lot of them are from Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. So every summer my grandpa would come and pick us up and then he would drive to El Paso, pick us up, and then drive back to Kansas. And he would always play like all types of like oldies, like Bill Withers and Gil Scott-Heron and The Last Poets and Nina Simone.
Oh, wow.
And I was just in the back seat, like
Soaking
6 to 10 years old, just like listening to like this very like potent music, you know what I mean, with like just like a really rich like message in it. And I don't know, it was very influential. So a lot of influences from my family. Just in regards to like my artistic practice though, like I feel like there's two pathways that are happening simultaneously. And starting like with photography, I probably spent most of my life like as a photographer, you know, and I started off as like a little kid, like making, you know, Lego Movie. Have you seen Lego Movie?
Yeah.
So I would do like little stop motion videos and upload them to YouTube. They weren't that good, but I was enjoying them. So I always kind of had a camera with me in some capacity, like since I was a kid. And with school and stuff, like I was a very middle of the road student. I'm actually dyslexic, so like school was like never like something that was like came super easy to me or something I was like super excited about. Yeah. But in high school, I ended up taking this photography class, and I just excelled like a lot. And it was something like, even when I got home from school, like I was still like thinking about photography and thinking about images to make and things like that. So, you know, I took that as a sign, like this is something I should do. And that took me into college. But backtracking a little bit, I also had this love for hip hop from a very young age. I remember I had like several anthems when I was a youngin', but I remember like in 5th grade, like I loved Chain Hang Low. You know that song? Yeah.
Hit your chain low.
Do it well to the flow. Like that was my anthem when I always come to school with the little vending machine chains. Like I thought I was just flossing on everybody. That was my anthem. And I remember watching like Ultra Millionaire videos and all types of stuff on YouTube and just being enamored with it. And I think I always had a love for hip hop, but even as a kid, I was very like socially aware, and this was like early 2000s. So like during this time, hip hop was getting like a real bad rap, you know, for being like degrading to women and like glorifying materialism and all types of things like that. And I feel like there was always a part of me that like wanted to rap, but I didn't want those stigmas to be attached to me. So I just kind of was like, oh, I can't do that.